This is looking at not only the idioms, but it's also looking at how you would change the verb and looking at the context of the sentence. So, excuse me, these are challenging a little bit. So let's look at number 7 together. Okay? It says, improving your computer skills will blank of your getting a good job.
Increase.
Improve the odds.
Yeah, so increase the possibilities, the meaning, right? And the idiom is improve the odds. Improving your computer skills will improve the odds of your getting a new job or of getting a new job. You don't have to put your in there. It sounds weird to me, actually. I would just say of getting a good job. Okay, so if you improve your computer skills, you will improve the odds of getting a good job. Or you could say improve the odds that you will get a good job. Either one. Okay, good. Number 8, I guess. My interview with Professor Schmidt blank. I think there is a good chance that he will select me as his research assistant. My interview with Professor Schmidt, what?
When will.
Is that what you all said?
When will.
Wow.
Good, yeah. So think in the past, right? It went well. Okay, because he's done, he finished it. Good. So my interview with Professor Schmidt went well, right? It was successful because if you look at the context, it says, I think there is a good chance that he will select me as his research assistant, right? So it went well. He thinks there's a good chance. Very good. Number 9, Teresa blank of applicants because of her positive attitude. Teresa what?
Stand out from
the crowd.
Good, yes. Teresa stands out from the crowd of applicants because of her positive attitude. Okay, Teresa stands out of the crowd of applicants, stands out from the crowd of applicants because of her positive attitude. She stands out from the crowd because she has this positive attitude. Okay, so number 1 is improve the odds. Number 2 is went well, or number 8 is went well. Number 3 is stands out from the crowd. I keep getting the numbers wrong. Number 10, sorry. Whew. After losing his job, Jorge was depressed. Depressed is very, very sad, okay? It's a condition. After losing his job, Jorge was depressed for weeks, but eventually he
moves on.
Yeah, eventually he moved on. Or you could say eventually he will move on because it depends on the context. So eventually he moved on. He pushed forward, right? It's saying he was depressed. He was sad for weeks and weeks. But eventually, right, soon after time passed, he moved on. He moved forward. Does that make sense? Right? He moved forward. Like, I'm really sad right now, but I will move on. We say a lot, right? Like, I didn't get the job. I'm really sad right now, but I will move on. I will go forward. I will move forward. Okay? We say that adelante, yeah.
In Spanish, we say that a lot too, teacher.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you say? If I said, I am sad, but I will move on. Say that in Spanish. Yo estoy triste, pero adelante.
Adelante, teacher.
Seguiré adelante.
Pero sigue adelante. I will continue.
Seguiré.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
What did you say? Can you say again?
You need to say more idiom.
I need to say what?
With more idiom.
With more idiom?
Yeah. estoy triste,
Uh-huh.
pero pa'lante.
Oh, palante is
That is
saying
an idiom.
Yeah.
really? Oh, cool. Palante.
Yeah.
Palante.
Don't write that.
It's P-A. ¿Y cómo se dice apóstrofe en inglés?
Apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Quotation.
Apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Ujú.
P-A apóstrofe.
Esas son las dos.
But what if I said estoy triste, pero sigue adelante? Does that make sense or no?
Of course.
Okay, but I will move forward. Because that translates directly in English. But I will continue forward, right? I will
Yeah,
continue, I will
exactly
move
right.
on. Yeah, same thing. I like it. Cool. What's the next one? Number 11. Oops, says,
Sorry.
you're fine. I don't like my job, but I plan to blank it. What?
Made the
don't
most
Make
of it.
the most of.
Yeah, I don't like that one's a little bit tricky. I don't like my job, but I plan to make the most of it. Right? Just like it's raining outside. I don't like rain, but I plan to make the most of it and go and run in the puddles. Take advantage of, make the most of a bad situation. I'm going to make the most of it. Okay? It doesn't always have to be a bad situation, but we do often use it in those times. Like, oh, I'm sick, so I have to be home all day by myself, but I'm going to make the most of it and clean my house. Right? I'm going to take advantage of the time and clean my house. I will make the most of it.
Make the most of it.
Okay. Number 12, blank that Gail will move to Washington after she graduates.
Chances are.
This is weird.
Yeah, chances are that Gail will move to Washington after she graduates. Odds are, the chances are that she will. This sentence makes sense. The context is very strange. So it's very odd. Sorry. Yeah, but it's saying just like the odds are, the chances are that she will move after she graduates. Okay, so if I said like, yeah, Gail is, she loves Washington and she loves hiking and she really loves the state. The chances are she will move to Washington, right? If you're saying like she really likes it, like she has the money, she can afford it, chances are that she will probably move there. That's kind of the context of the situation. Any questions about those? Does that help to kind of look at them in different sentences? Kind of.
Yes.
You're like, no, this is a waste of time.
No, that was good.
Does it help? So just look at these and, you know, these are really good idioms that we do use often. So those are good. And it is good to write a thank you, write a follow-up after an interview. So that was a good article. Why? Why was it awkward? Why was it weird? And I say, oh, that's all he could do is make small talk. It was weird. We only made small talk. What am I saying?
Official stuff.
Superficial? Is that what you said? Yeah. No.
Irrelevant topics or something.
Yeah. So small talk is kind of like, if you think of it in English, we call it like light conversation. So if I said to you, we had a very deep conversation, deep is like, think of something like the water, right? On top of the water, it's shallow. And then if you keep walking in deeper and deeper into the lake, it gets deeper, right? It's deep now. And now you have to swim. You have to swim because you can't, your feet won't touch the ground because it's deep. So you have shallow and deep. So if I say to you, we made small talk, it's like shallow talk. We did not go deep. We didn't talk about our families or our jobs or what we really liked or our passions or our interests. We only talked maybe about the weather, right? Or our favorite restaurant or how you know, those kinds of, a conversation that is shallow, a light conversation. Okay? So it kind of means like, kind of what Veronica said, like superficial. So you might talk about your hobbies or food that you like, but you're not going to talk about your political beliefs or your religious beliefs or the best thing that's ever happened to you or your hardest moment in your life or a deep secret, right? You're not going to talk about that. That's deep. Okay, so small talk is something that's like, if you do not know a person very well, you kind of are trying to think of things to say, so you make small talk. Okay, it's not always like a bad thing at all. Or if you only have like at the beginning of class, sometimes I make small talk while you guys are all joining so that we practice English. How's the weather? How was your weekend? What are your hobbies? Kind of just.
For example, when you talk with the cashier at the supermarket, that is a small talk.
That's a perfect example of small talk. You only have a minute, you don't know them, but you want to be polite, right? You don't want to not say anything, but you're also not going to say to them, tell me your deepest secret, right? Of course not. That's weird. That's awkward. So you're just going to make small talk. How's your day? You know, the weather's nice outside. Yeah, it is. Okay, great. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye. Right?
Public topic.
Okay. So, yeah. So in the United States and many countries, I'm sure, small talk topics, things you talk about might be the weather, how someone's day is going, kind of maybe what do you like to do for fun, right? That's kind of, those are small talk topics that you talk about, okay? And things like that. So in your experience, Yisel just gave a really good example. Have you ever listened to Americans making small talk? So Yisel said, yeah, at a cash register, when you are checking out with your groceries, you make small talk. What are other examples in the United States that we make when we make small talk? Can you think of any?
When you use Uber for transportation.
Yeah, that's a great one. When you use an Uber or a taxi or a Lyft, right? You might say, oh, I hope your day's going well, but you're not going to get into typically a very deep conversation. Although I have a problem because I do. I'm like, tell me about your family. Where are you from? What do you like? Like, this girl is so weird. And I'm like, I love you. Like, welcome. Like, oh, it's so bad. I'm very bad when I'm in the Uber. Because I'm so curious about people's lives. Like, why? What are you doing? Anyway, terrible. I'm not good at small talk. I like to know more about people. But yes, an Uber is a great example. Yeah, an Uber at a cashier. Maybe if you're
when you are in a waiting room.
Yes, yeah. When you're in a waiting room at the doctor's office or waiting for some appointment, you might just say to the person next to you, hi, how are you? You know, whatever. Yeah, these are really good.
That is not a small talk because the women talk about everything right there in a waiting room.
That is true. You might have some talky people like me. I'm like, tell me about you. Do you have kids? How old are your kids? What are their names? Like, anyway, like they move chairs. I'm like, okay, sorry. No. Yeah. Some people like me, Jim, thank you, like to go and talk.
Sorry,
no. Yeah, those are really good examples of small talk. Okay. So on page 27 in your workbook, okay, there is a listening section that talks about, hang on, let me get it. I downloaded it. I will find you. Here it is. Okay, so we're going to listen. It says, just a moment. Loading. It says, read the statements and listen to the lecture and circle the main idea.
Unit 6.
Okay, so we're going to listen to this listening section a couple of times, and it talks about what is small talk, when do you use it, when do you not use it, and those kinds of things. Okay, so we'll listen to it at least 2 times. Okay, and then the second one, you can follow along with the reading and fill in the missing words. Okay, so just listen.
Lesson A, page 27. Exercises 1 and 2.
I'd like to spend some time today talking about small talk. Now, I know this is a subject that many of you are very interested in because the rules of conversation are quite different in your home cultures. Students are always asking me, what is small talk? When do we do it and why? And which topics are okay to talk about? So let me start by giving some general answers to those questions. So first of all, what is small talk? Well, it's a kind of casual or light conversation about neutral or non-controversial subjects like the weather or sports. It's the kind of conversation we have with people in places like parties or standing in line somewhere, or when we're waiting for a class or a business meeting to start. One purpose of small talk is to break the ice, which means to start a conversation with another person, especially a person you don't know very well. It's a polite way to start talking with someone, and often it's a bridge to talking about bigger topics later, when you feel more comfortable with each other. Another purpose of small talk is to fill the time before the start of an event, like a meeting or a class. Okay, so let's say you're at a party with a bunch of people you don't know very well, and you need to make small talk. What should you talk about, and which topics should you avoid? Safe topics include the weather and sports, as I said. Also, anything about your native country or your language, your family, traveling, or learning English. Movies, music, and entertainment are also good topics. Now, inappropriate topics are things that Americans consider to be private. So religion, politics, sex, and money. You shouldn't ask questions about those things until you know people very well. You should never ask Americans how much money they make or what they paid for something. It's also inappropriate to make negative comments about people's bodies, like saying they've gained weight or that they look sick. Remember, the purpose of small talk is to open up a conversation and get to know another person. Don't start out by talking about subjects that are too personal or too heavy. If you approach another person with respect and you're careful about the subjects you choose to speak about, people will feel comfortable around you. It's also a great way to practice your English.
Okay, this has a lot of really good information. So you can follow along on part 2 and try and fill in the blanks when you can, okay? But we're going to listen to it again. Okay, so
Unit
listen close.
6. Lesson A, page 27. Exercises 1 and 2.
I'd like to spend some time today talking about small talk. Now, I know this is a subject that many of you are very interested in because the rules of conversation are quite different in your home cultures. Students are always asking me, what is small talk? When do we do it and why? And which topics are okay to talk about? So let me start by giving some general answers to those questions. So first of all, what is small talk? Well, it's a kind of casual or light conversation about neutral or non-controversial subjects like the weather or sports. It's the kind of conversation we have with people in places like parties or standing in line somewhere, or when we're waiting for a class or a business meeting to start. One purpose of small talk is to break the ice, which means to start a conversation with another person, especially a person you don't know very well. It's a polite way to start talking with someone, and often it's a bridge to talking about bigger topics later, when you feel more comfortable with each other. Another purpose of small talk is to fill the time before the start of an event, like a meeting or a class. Okay, so let's say you're at a party with a bunch of people you don't know very well, and you need to make small talk. What should you talk about, and which topics should you avoid? Safe topics include the weather and sports, as I said. Also, anything about your native country or your language, your family, traveling, or learning English. Movies, music, and entertainment are also good topics. Now, inappropriate topics are things that Americans consider to be private. So religion, politics, sex, and money. You shouldn't ask questions about those things until you know people very well. You should never ask Americans how much money they make or what they paid for something. It's also inappropriate to make negative comments about people's bodies, like saying they've gained weight or that they look sick. Remember, the purpose of small talk is to open up a conversation and get to know another person. Don't start out by talking about subjects that are too personal or too heavy. If you approach another person with respect and you're careful about the subjects you choose to speak about, people will feel comfortable around you. It's a great way to practice your English.
Okay. Okay, so it said more than just what was on part 2, but these were the important things. Okay, so it says, what is small talk? Well, it's kind of casual or light or shallow, like we talked about, conversation about neutral or non-controversial subjects. Okay, so neutral means not positive, not negative, right? Neutral, like the weather. You can't fight about the weather, right? think about things that are not controversial, right? Politics is controversial. People have opinions on that. Religion, people have opinions on that. Okay, those kinds of things when you are making small talk is not going to be a good idea. Okay, so things that are non-controversial. It says it's the kind of conversation we have with people in places like parties or social gatherings, or standing in line somewhere, like Giselle said, or when we're waiting for a class or meeting to start. Okay, so we all know each other well, so I could probably ask you your opinion on politics because we know each other. We have a relationship. Okay, we trust each other. We respect each other. But if you are with people that you barely know or you don't know, that's not a good question to ask, is kind of what it's saying, okay? So one purpose of small talk is to break the ice. This is kind of another idiom, okay? So breaking the ice, imagine if there's a lake, and in the winter, it gets, especially in Tennessee, like it might have a little layer of ice on it, right? Not much though, because it doesn't get too cold, and you can smash it, right? And then there's water underneath. So breaking the ice is getting through that hard layer, that hard beginning of someone where you don't know each other at all, and at least getting a conversation going. That's what break the ice means.
We use it in Spanish too, teacher.
The same.
Broken
Romper el hielo.
Yeah, break the ice. Yeah. What about in Arabic, Afifa? Is that something in Arabic that you say or no? No?
No,
So break
different.
the ice, Lafifa, means like kind of what I was
I
explaining.
know. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You
a
start
conversation
to
starter.
have a small conversation.
Exactly. Yes. To break the ice. It means
Yes.
you start a conversation with another person. Okay. And I didn't even listen to this whole thing. So let's see. Page.
Especially.
Especially, thank you. I have the answers here and I don't even know. Especially a person you don't know very,
Very well.
Very well.
Especially a person you don't know very well. Of course. It is a polite way to start talking with someone. And it's often a bridge. Think about a bridge, right? It gets you from one place to another. Yep, it's often a bridge. Okay, that I missed my spot. To talking about bigger topics later when you feel more comfortable with each other.
With each other.
Okay, when you feel more comfortable with each other. So you start with something small, right? Break the ice, and then you can start building that bridge to become more comfortable with each other. Another purpose of small talk is to fill the time before the start or end of an event, like a meeting or a class. Okay, before the start or the end of an event. So what should you talk about and what topics should you avoid? It says. Safe topics include the weather and sports, as I said. Also, anything about your what?
Country.
Our country.
Yeah, your native country
Or language.
your language. Right? So saying, yeah, I'm from Colombia. They have really good food there. We speak mainly Spanish, right? Those are interesting facts that are not controversial. Okay, they are not controversial facts. Talking about where you're from and what language you speak is not a controversial topic normally. Okay, so things like that. Talking about your family, maybe how many children you have, where you have traveled, or learning English, right? Yeah, I'm learning English. You know, where do you learn? Oh, the branch, right? Those are all not controversial topics. Things like movies, music, and entertainment are also good topics. Because even if you disagree, if I say, oh, I like country music, you might say, oh, that is not my favorite, but I like pop music. That's okay, right? That's not controversial. That's just what you like and don't like. That's not going to offend me or make me mad, okay? Inappropriate topics, right? Inappropriate, we talked about that word, are things that Americans consider to be private. Okay, things that you don't talk about. So things like religion,
Politics, sex, and money.
sex, and money, exactly. Those are things that we typically, unless you, of course, are very comfortable with someone, you should not ask those questions until you know someone well. Okay, so their sexual relationships, their religion, their political beliefs, those are things that you should not, and their money, like how much money do they have? Like how much money do they make? Those are things that you typically do not talk about when you are making small talk with someone you do not know very well. Okay, those are topics that in the United States we avoid until you get to know someone very well. Then, of course, you can ask them. Okay?
Okay.
It's also inappropriate, our article says, to make negative comments about people's bodies, like saying, oh, you have gained weight, right? We don't say that in our country. I know in Spanish, you call someone like gordita, like little fatty, and it's really cute. And I always thought that was funny, because if someone called me gordita, I would be mad. But that's not a mean thing to say, right?
And where is a good way to say it? That person is fat. Where is a good way to polite?
Yeah, it's like they're cute, they're chubby, but normally you'd only say it for a baby, right? Or no?
No, yo puedo decir, I can say, hola gorda, ¿cómo estás? and it's perfect.
Really?
That is
Yeah.
Like, hello,
Yeah.
Fatty. How are you?
Teacher,
No.
even with the your skin color, it's totally normal to call someone negro or negra. Hi, negro, how are you?
No.
Yeah, it is.
Don't say that here.
Yeah, no, we know already.
Oh, yeah. If you
We
said,
already
like,
know.
hi, black person, how are you? They would not be happy with you. Or like,
No,
hi,
even in Spanish, how do you say cariñoso?
cariño.
Shows
It's like fraternal. It's like friendly.
it shows I appreciate you. I mean, it shows that I feel. I don't know how that I is. say. A good relationship between two persons. Yes. If I say, hola negra, ¿cómo estás?
But
Perfect.
would you say that if you did not know someone very well?
Not
No.
necessarily.
Not necessarily. No.
Okay. Same thing with like gorda. You wouldn't say
Uh-huh.
like,
It's the
hello,
same.
fat person.
You
Yeah.
can say flaca too.
Because gorda means fat in Spanish. So I think it's so funny that in whatever Latin American culture, I guess, they say like, hola gordita, hola gorda. Like, hi, fat person is what that translates to, but it's like an endearing, it's like a cute term.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or hola
A
negra,
cute
hi black one.
Uh-huh.
What that means.
It's the same. It's the same with the skinny person. You can say hi flaca or hi flaco.
Really?
Yeah. It's a
That would
cute
be
word.
so offensive here.
No offensive, teacher.
Yeah.
At all for us.
I can say, for example, if you arrive at home, I can say, oh, llegó la flaca.
Wow. Yeah.
I can say that. It is
What
perfect.
about like, would someone say to me like, hola Blanca? Hi, Blanca.
No, we don't use that.
No, okay. Because
Why
I'm
not?
gringa.
Why not, Giselle? Why not?
Blanca.
Do you say
Catira.
hola Blanca? I have never
Catira.
heard that.
No, Catira.
Hola, Catira.
That means
Okay.
like light skin, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
No,
Like a
Catira is like
Blonde,
blonde.
blonde hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Because people call me gringa all the time, but that means
Yeah.
foreign white girl, like foreign white person. So I'm like, I'll take like whatever. But if I like on the opposite, if someone said like if you were here and someone said to you like, hi, Hispanic dark skinned person, like that would be so inappropriate. Like, that would be a horrible thing to say. Like, or hi, Arabic woman from Egypt. Like that's horrible to say. Like I wouldn't say that to you. But it's just different cultures, right? Are totally different.
Yeah, it is.
Like if someone said like, oh yeah, that person's Hispanic, that would be like, or like, oh hi Hispanic person, that would be kind of like racist. Like that's kind of like, not nice at all. I would never say that. So it's just very interesting to me, those differences.
Yeah.
But yes, we do not call people fat or talk to them about their weight. You would not say, oh, you're skinny or oh, you're fat, unless you know them well. Like you could say, oh, wow, like you look really good or like you lost weight if you know someone well. That's okay. But in small talk conversations, no, not great. Okay. Oh, this is so interesting to me. I love it. Okay. You shouldn't ask questions about those things. Okay. You should never ask Americans about their weight or what they paid for something. Yeah, it's also inappropriate to make negative comments saying they gained weight or that they look sick. That's not very nice either. Okay. Remember, the purpose of small talk is to open up a conversation, right? To open a conversation and get to know another person. Don't start out by talking about the subjects that are too personal or too heavy,
Okay.
right? Like deep, heavy, like difficult to talk about things. If you approach means come toward. If you come toward or approach another person with respect and you are careful about the subjects you choose to speak about, people will usually feel comfortable around you. It's also a great way to practice your English. A great way to practice your English. Okay, so fill those in a minute if you haven't. Our time is going to run out, so we will end and then rejoin one more time. I might have to make a new link, I'll tell you, but we will rejoin in just a minute.